Good morning, good morning, how are you? I'm fine, and I hope that you are too. Good morning. All right, we're going to continue learning about why we celebrate Thanksgiving. We've learned about the Native Americans and how they were the first people here in America. We learned about the Pilgrims coming to America to escape religious persecution. And we learned how the Native Americans helped the Pilgrims when they got here. They helped them survive. So after the Native Americans taught the Pilgrims how to grow food, then they got through the winter time, and in the springtime, they kept growing food, and their crops were doing really well. And so then in the fall, in November, they got ready to pick all of their crops and to pick all the foods that they had been growing. And they got together and they had the first Thanksgiving. So they gathered the harvest, all right, and they got together and they ate it. All right, so that's why we celebrate Thanksgiving, is because the Native Americans and the Pilgrims, they worked together, they helped each other, and then when it was time to pick their crops, they came together and they ate together as one big family, even though they weren't the same people. All right, so for Thanksgiving, we always get together with our families and we always eat together. And the reason that we eat together is because the Native Americans and the Pilgrims ate together whenever they picked their harvest and they gathered all of their food. All right, so our morning message says Native Americans and Pilgrims came together for the first Thanksgiving. Okay, so what was our first word? Native. Okay, so I'm writing Native Americans and Pilgrims came together for the first Thanksgiving. And then put your period at the end. All right. So as I point to the word, you read it with me. Native Americans and Pilgrims came together for the first Thanksgiving. All right, so we are going to find our special letter of the week, the letter I. So you get your fingers out, and as I write, you write too with your finger. Okay, so for uppercase I, pull down, slide over, slide over. All right, there's our uppercase I. Now let's write our lowercase I. Lowercase I, pull down, dot it at the top. All right, so let's look in our morning message and see if we can find lowercase I. So let's look at our first word, native. Where do we have a lowercase I in native? Good, right here. I'm going to put a line under it. Let's move on to our next word, Americans. Where do we have a lowercase I in Americans? Right here, great. All right, now let's look at our word pilgrims. Do we have any lowercase i's in pilgrims? We sure do. We have more than one. We have one right here and one right there. All right, now let's look at our word first. Do you see another lowercase I? Right here. Now let's look in our word Thanksgiving. Do you see any eyes? Good, we have one here and right there. All right, so let's count and see how many lowercase i's we found. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We found 7 lowercase i's. Wow. All right, so let's count to 7 using our fingers. Okay, let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 fingers held up to represent 7 lowercase i's. We found 7 lowercase i's. That's a lot. All right. Well, today I want you to be thinking about how the Pilgrims and the Native Americans came together with someone who was different than they were, and they celebrated the harvest, all of the food that they had gathered, and they sat down together and they ate together as one big happy family. So even if someone is different from you, you can still be a big family, you can still celebrate together, and you can still love each other. All right, so I hope now you know why we celebrate Thanksgiving, and I hope that you're excited to eat all of the wonderful food that we're going to all have.